Hi guys, how are you doing today? Are you ready for new stories? Let's go to the first one, about OP's ex-wife, who insists she will be attending OP's child's birth. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My ex-wife and I divorced 8 years ago. 3 years later, I met and started dating my wife, 30 female, and we got married. I have a son, Eric, 12 male, with my ex-wife, and we share equal custody. My wife and son get along really well. I also have a 7-month-old with my wife. My ex-wife doesn't seem to respect our boundaries. She tried to crash our wedding, but I anticipated it, and I had my brother act as a bouncer outside, and he refused her entry. For the birth of our son, we had Eric waiting in hospital with our parents. We wanted him there to meet his new brother. My ex-wife insisted on coming to the hospital as well. She said if Eric was there, then she had every right to be there. This was an intimate moment between my wife and I and our family, which she is no longer a part of. My brothers and rest of the family refused to let her in and informed the nurses and hospital staff as well. She didn't get to see or meet our son, but I thought that her insistence to be there was very rude, and it made for a very embarrassing and trying situation and made the nurse and hospital staff's jobs harder. My wife and ex-wife also don't get along at all. They are completely different in personality. My wife is a more fitness, makeup, girly kind of person. She isn't into academics, but she's not stupid and has a respectable job. My ex-wife is the complete opposite, more into academic, has a PhD and not into health and fitness or makeup like my wife. My ex-wife called my wife a vapid, superficial bimbo and airhead on social media and tagged her in it. Ever since, they do not get along at all. I support my wife 100%, obviously. Eric recently turned 12, and his mother and I are celebrating his birthday separately. He already celebrated his birthday with his mother, and I am having a separate birthday party for him with my family. My ex-wife has been insisting that she will be there, even though I explicitly told her she's not invited. I'm really at my wit's end with her. I feel like I have to have someone to physically stop her from intruding on every important moment. How can I get her to understand and respect these boundaries? She's not part of my family anymore. She's the mother of my son, that's it. How can I get this through her head? My brother's wife also recently had a baby, and my ex-wife wanted to come, although my brother and sister-in-law said no. I was waiting anxiously for her to show up and have to stop her from coming in, but thankfully she never showed up. I still felt bad that I was indirectly causing additional stress to my brother and sister-in-law when it was already a stressful time for them. Aside from these issues, we usually co-parent well. I feel like she is doing this because she didn't handle the divorce well, and she is still in love with OP. That she is only doing these things to exert dominance and make OP's wife as uncomfortable as possible. I feel like OP should warn her bluntly and coolly that she's not invited to any event. If OP catches wind that she is planning on crashing and that if she is planning on showing up, police will be involved. Looks like nobody in OP's family has a good relationship with her as well. So this may be a long one, but it's been a hell of a couple of years. Basically, 2 years ago, right after our daughter, now 2, was born, I let my cousin move in with me and my husband of 4.5 years after she graduated high school. Now, my cousin and I were extremely close. She was my best friend. Fast forward 5 or 6 months, and my ex and I started having a lot of issues. We got married really young and weren't really the best fit. Fought a lot, were codependent. He's borderline narcissistic and a pathological liar. So he, out of the blue, tells me that he's got feelings for her and that she didn't know. I believed her when she told me it wasn't like that. My mistake. So after a week in hell, they're living in our house together, and I'm staying with our newborn at my mom's house. My family ships me back to my home state to stay with my dad and stepmom. We've been separated 2 years and divorced for 1. I have primary custody of our daughter. After I left, they moved off to Colorado and were soon engaged and actually are getting married in September. Got a great job since I have a degree in the medical field, and I'm working full-time 3 days a week. My family has been amazing with helping me with my daughter, and I'd even say I've been thriving as a single mom, and I love the freedom that comes with not being married. Through this, my ex and I have off and on been involved romantically. Mostly Skyping and stuff, but we slept together once last year. I kinda felt like she deserved it. I mean, after all, you wanted a cheating husband, and you got one. And she's never said one word to me since I found out she was in on the affair the whole time. So he sees our daughter 3 or 4 times a year, always with my cousin, but I haven't seen her since we split up 2 years ago. He and I have been cool for a while. I've casually dated and am working on healing and moving on. But the other week, I found out that my cousin wants to take mother-daughter pictures with my daughter at their wedding. I obviously flip out on my ex and tell him I'm not okay with this. Isn't it enough that she stole my husband, and now she wants my daughter too? But he says there's nothing I can do about it, and that I'm overreaching. Anyways, I had worked through most of my anger over the situation, and now I feel like I've got to work through it all over again to find some kind of peace. I'm still not completely over my ex, but I've been working through it. And I've planned trips since I love to travel. Florida vacation next week, and an East Coast road trip in September during the weekend they're getting married. But I still can't fight the familiar feeling of powerlessness in this whole thing. Edit. My ex and I actually have a great relationship. I put a stop on the S stuff since I found out they were getting married, and we only slept together once, a couple of months after we split up. To those with concerns that I'm letting my anger put my daughter under any kind of stress, I would never, ever keep her from her dad. Their relationship is more important to me than you could know. Even when he didn't want to be a part of anything, I have pushed it. I know what happens to children who grow up without a mom or dad. He and she Skype 2 or 3 times a week, and I always send pictures or updates. Between my ex's mom and myself, we have paid for every trip and put ourselves out for him to see her. Not for him, but for my daughter. As for my cousin, she's young and naive. She was 13 when he and I got married, and she's seen us together growing up. I got through college, got a great job, moved into a nice house, had a baby, and there's no doubt in my mind that she was jealous. I just wish I could have seen it back then. But in my mind, living with him and dealing with his crap is punishment in itself. And also that it ripped our family apart. They all took her side, actually told me it was my fault for letting him into our family, and I disowned all of them. Aunts, older cousins, grandparents. It was never a question that I'd let my daughter go to the wedding. The picture thing has me upset, but I haven't let it affect how my ex communicates with her. He still Skypes, and I'm actually driving 2 states up to his mom's place this week so that he and my cousin can visit with our daughter for the weekend. I can understand OP's anger over the pictures. OP sees it for what it really is. She is trying to add insult to injury and using OP's child to do so. I would say this though, is it worth the fight? No, probably not. It is only pictures, and no matter how hard OP's cousin tries, she will never be able to replace OP. She can convince herself that she is, but when it really comes down to it, she is always going to be trailing behind OP and picking up her cast-offs. The relationship with the ex wasn't perfect. There's a chance that those two would have ended up divorcing with or without OP's cousin's involvement. Sounds like OP is happier now than she has been in a while. What does OP's cousin have? A future husband who has shown that he is capable of adultery. No matter what happens, she will always wonder if he is going to cheat on her too. That is not a recipe for a healthy marriage. She will never be his first anything. She will always feel like she is living in OP's shadow. I can't imagine this whole thing hasn't caused some issues for her and OP's extended family. So she will always feel judged. The plain and simple truth is that even though OP's marriage is over, OP is always going to be happier and better off than she is. So OP should let her have her pictures. She will never be able to replace OP as her child's mother. OP should let her have her wedding. She will walk down the aisle knowing that he will most likely end up cheating on her and leaving her. She can play happy wife and stepmom for one day. It doesn't change the fact that her relationship started on a lie and at the expense of her closest family members' happiness, and that it will most likely end on a lie and the expense of her own happiness. Years down the line, when he is off romancing her best friend or a coworker, and she is sitting home alone and brokenhearted, and wondering how she is going to support herself after the divorce. Maybe it will sink in that this is how she made OP feel. Maybe it won't. One thing I can almost guarantee is that she will not be nearly as successful at pulling herself together and finding happiness and peace as OP has been. When OP starts to feel that anger and bitterness rise towards her, she needs to remember that she is better than that. My female 22 sister has become supervisor in my workplace, and I, female 24, am having a hard time coping due to jealousy. How can I fix this? A little backstory. My sister is my foster sister, and we've been super close since the age of 5. We get along great, have the same interests, rarely ever fight, and rarely have issues with each other. She recently finished high school at 19 and worked odd and end jobs until I offered to help her get into the company that I work for. It's a great steady job with benefits, and I love it here. And with my recommendation, she got in right away. She's been here 1 year. I've been here 3 years. Just recently, she got promoted, which I was super happy for her. Lately, however, she's been subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, rubbing stuff in my face. I just started making $35 an hour. How much do you make? Wait, I have access to everything now, so I'll look it up for you on your file. Little comments like that, and I brushed it off, thinking she was just really excited about the job and the new experience. But it's been a full year now, and she still makes comments like that. You only got a 50-cent raise? I got a 60-cent raise because I'm a supervisor. She said this to me the other night, so it's fairly recent. Just the other day, she said, "My department sure is short-staffed now that Nancy is on vacation and Tom is sick. I'm going to call you on Monday to help fill us in." Which she can't do because I'm in a different department with my own job and schedule. Plus, she isn't in charge of my department. My manager, Retta, is. She keeps making little jabs at how she's higher up than I am, and it's driving me insane. One day, she strolled through my side of the building and saw the amount of work I had left to do and said, "This is how much you have to do? Do you think you'll finish it on time by 8?" I thought it was random, especially since I've never seen her over my floor before, and I said, "Yes, why?" And she said, "Just making sure you're getting your work done, especially since I noticed you were behind on X and Y last week." Which was due to a computer malfunction which was already known and accepted by my boss. And she just strolled on out. Just the other day, she told me that I might have to be moved into her department and how she'll have to supervise me, and she won't stop talking about it, and the idea of her being my supervisor just makes me tense up, and I hate the idea of it. My boyfriend thinks I'm overreacting, and I know it sounds petty, and I guess I must be jealous, but I cannot handle all the little side comments, and I have no idea how to handle it. OP let this go on too long. She should have stopped it as soon as she tried it. Some people are like that, and it's sad. OP can either be diplomatic about this and talk to her about it and see if she'll stop, and remind her that she wouldn't have that job if it wasn't for OP, or OP can start trying to get her fired. Bring up the harassment to the attention of her HR department and start distancing herself from her. Move away, stop talking to her, etc. Update. Well, I had a phone call with my sister, and she said she had no intentions on trying to hurt me, and that she was genuinely excited about her position. With her looking up my pay wage after telling me about her new raise, she told me I had given her permission to look into it. So, looking through text, it appears that I had given her permission to look up my employee info without realizing. She has said, "I got a raise and started making $35 an hour. If you want, I can show you how much you make." And I replied with a "sure." And that's when she said, "You make $26 an hour." And I was so wound up in the fact that it seemed like she was rubbing the wage difference in my face that I forgot I had technically given her permission to look up my info. I had told her that if it does come to the point where she will be my supervisor, I knew what I was doing, and that although I can accept advice or handle any criticism for my work, for the most part, I will be continuing my work as normal without having her breathe down my neck. I still will be going to my manager because I don't think my boss really considered the fact that we are sisters. So I will just inquire about what their plans for me is. I'll give my sister a chance if it comes to that, to keep things professional. But if the patterns happen again, I will report it. Due to certain circumstances, I unfortunately cannot leave this job at the moment. We recently moved in together, so I'm probably realizing life with Henry isn't as amazing as I thought it was going to be. His parents have basically babied him all his life. They did everything for him, including cut his fruit into little pieces for him. Now, it's becoming more and more clear that Henry would like me to take on that role. Initially, he wanted me to peel his fruit for him. I made it clear I wasn't going to do it. So next, he starts doing it himself. But as soon as he bites into a mandarin with the seed, he'll spit it out and get mad about the seed. He expects me to buy seed-free fruit. Seedless mandarins are twice the cost of regular, perfectly tasty ones. He also had a big issue with the house chores, which he's trying to change. We made a list and divided the chores, but he physically needs reminding several times before he does them. He thinks it is my job to remind and nag him about the chores, and that it's normal. But it's not. I don't enjoy it. I find his behavior really repulsive. I feel like I'm with a baby. I'm always cranky and pissed. I realized I'm turning into a grumpy person that no one would want to be around, and our relationship is going downhill. He has pointed out that he misses our old selves, and I do too. I don't like being negative so much, but it's just hard with him being so picky and impossible with everything. I've tried a few different things, including telling him how he needs to step up, but it doesn't really go anywhere. He agrees to try, but that I should be patient with him. It's only been 2 months, but I'm already exhausted. How long should I give him? And how do I get myself to relax a little, as being negative all the time isn't helping either? OP needs to move out as soon as possible. It sounds like he is not ready to be an adult. It seems to me that the best way for a person, such as a guy who has lived at home and never had to do any chores, to understand how to share chores is for them to live on their own first. OP is having to be the mommy and treat him like a child. If OP wants to try a last-ditch attempt, she needs to try telling him this, being explicitly clear with him. She wants to live with an equal partner who does not need to be reminded of chores, but who knowingly, willingly takes on and owns tasks in order to make the household a better place.